How's it going, vaqueros? It is finally time for Season 3, and with Season 3's update that we also got some awesome patch notes, and there was a ton of stuff that changed, and one of the things that changed was the Basilisk Pistol Shotgun, which did in fact catch a nerf, and I didn't really talk about this much on my channel, but this gun was a two-shot monster in Warzone 2 in particular because of how much damage it did, and a lot of people thought it was overpowered or broken. So with this update, they did nerf that. So what I want to do is talk about the Basilisk, see if it's still sort of OP like people thought it was, and if it's even worth using anymore after its nerf. So let's just go ahead and hop into it. So if you look at the patch notes and what changed, there's quite a few changes that they made to the Basilisk, but the most important one is that they added a maximum damage for armor in Warzone 2 only. What that means is essentially if you're fighting someone who has armor and you take a shot at them, there is going to be a sort of cap on your gun that it's not going to let you do above a certain amount of damage with this particular gun. They also decreased the minimum armor damage that you could do with this, but I think this is more important than any of the other changes, as this is really going to determine how much damage you can potentially do if you hit all your pellets. So here we are in Gunfight, which is a really helpful tool if you want to test out gun values and how much damage they do. So here we are with the Basilisk. I'm basically going to take a shot from my dummy here and see how much damage it does. And up close, when you get shot, as you can see, the max amount of damage you can do with someone with the Basilisk up close is out to about that 96 points of damage. The important thing to note here is that this gun cannot two-shot anymore. This thing is only a three-shot at least, and that is if you hit your shots pretty dang spot on. And with this gun, that can be a bit challenging, especially if you're past a certain point. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out is that this armor cap for the maximum damage seems to only apply to this first max damage range for this gun, which is only out to about 5.3 meters. So if I take a shot further back, you can see I actually do more damage. I actually do 100. There's 2 whole armor plates that are gone. So it's only applying to that first damage range. So it's kind of funny because up close you deal less damage than you do further out. So it's a little strange, but just know that this armor cap seems to really only apply to the gun up close in its max damage range, which for this gun with the Snakeshot attachment is out to about 5.3 meters according to sim.gg. So if we take a look at this little spreadsheet of some of the values that I'm showing, up close and personal, you can see how much damage it does after the nerf. So if you have one gun, one Basilisk, and you shoot someone without armor, you are dealing 136 damage, which it can still two-shot, but that's if they didn't have armor, which in reality in Warzone, that's just not going to happen. So now realistically what you're getting is about that 96 points of damage up close, which makes it a 3-shot kill. Now when you have akimbo, they also did change the damage profile for that just a tiny bit, with armor at least. And so if you shoot someone once with no armor, one pistol, it's 68 damage for that, 136 for both shooting at the same time. For the akimbo against armor, you deal 50 points of damage per Basilisk, and then 100 if you shoot both at the same time. So there's really no way about it. This gun is always going to take at least 3 shots to kill. And as you can see, out past that damage range, we have basically 100, and then 50 per shot with armor, and it doesn't really matter. And that's again because the armor cap seems to only affect them first max damage range. That basically takes our time to kill and turns it down here into about 839 milliseconds, which really is not that good. That is pump action level, because the Bryson 800 has a 800 millisecond time to kill with its 2 shots, and this thing takes 839. Of course, you can use the match grade trigger, bump it up to about 718, but compared to where it was in the close to 400 mark, that is really bad. This thing definitely got hit heavy because of that. All it took was that one little nerf, and it basically changed the time to kill effectively and made it, in my opinion, really difficult to use and much harder to use than any other secondary. Now, as for my thoughts on this nerf, I do think it was called for, but they definitely made it to a point where this thing is a lot weaker than it was. Since it can't two-shot and you have to take 3, and you only have 5 shots, and that's assuming you hit your pellets to get those 3 shots, it's really difficult to use. This thing is not nearly as forgiving as it was, which is a good thing, I know, but in my opinion, it just really isn't worth using as much anymore. I mean, again, it's a backup, so you shouldn't be relying on this as a primary, and I guess in that regard, it's still okay, but in my opinion, there's just better sidearms. Like the X13 Auto is still solid. We're getting a new pistol halfway through Season 3 that's probably going to be better than the other ones, but I think you're better off using the X13 Auto or maybe even one of the other pistols. This one is just awkward, and there is that pre-fire delay, which I didn't take into account my time to kill. Just know that there's a little bit of a trigger delay before you actually get the shot out, but in my opinion, this thing isn't really worth using anymore. I would say you're better off using the X13 Auto, but of course, that's just my opinion on it. So I want to know down below in the comments, what do you think of this nerf? Was it really that bad? Am I kind of over exaggerating it? Is it still usable? Does this thing need even more of a nerf? And with that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video.
Hostiles dropping into the area. Watch the skies. Prevent kills bring back your squad mates faster. Good work.